Tonight, indicted. A grand jury charges the Christmas Day bomber with attempting to use a weapon of mass destruction to murder 289 people. I'm Katie Couric. Also tonight, as the mercury goes south, the battle is on to save every crop and every creature from freezing. And where America stands, how the U.S. military is redefining modern warfare by using new high-tech tactics.
I don't know how close to the real thing that was, but it was very, very convincing.
From CBS News World Headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric.
Good evening, everyone. We're beginning tonight with late-breaking news and the latest example of just how on edge everyone is since that failed attempt to blow up a jetliner on Christmas Day. A Hawaiian Airlines 767 was flying from Oregon to Hawaii this afternoon when a passenger refused to store his carry-on and made threatening remarks. The captain declared an emergency. The military scrambled 2 F-15s and the plane returned to Portland, where it landed safely. Law enforcement boarded and took the passenger into custody for questioning. Meanwhile, the terrorist who allegedly tried to blow up that Northwest Airlines plane out of the sky on Christmas Day is now facing the most serious charges possible. In Detroit today, a federal grand jury indicted Umar Farouk Abdulmutallab on 6 criminal counts, including the attempted murder of everyone on that plane. Now, if convicted, the 23-year-old Nigerian will not face the death penalty. Our justice correspondent Bob Orr is following the investigation. And Bob, the government seems ready to bargain if he talks.
Well, Katie, there's no doubt these new charges you outlined could put more pressure on the young Nigerian suspect to cooperate and share what he knows about Al-Qaeda. Because if convicted, he would face life in prison, a much stiffer penalty than called for in the original criminal charge. The 6-count indictment lays out in stark terms the plot to destroy Northwest Airlines Flight 253 on Christmas Day. Umar Farouk Abdulmutallab, the indictment charges, knowingly used and attempted to use a weapon of mass destruction, attempted to willfully destroy and wreck an aircraft, and attempted to murder 289 individuals on the plane by detonating the bomb. Court papers also reveal the device hidden by Abdulmutallab in his underwear was strikingly similar to the shoe bomb worn by Richard Reed in 2001. Both were made of 2 high explosives, PETN and TATP, a deadly and popular combination favored by Al-Qaeda bomb makers. A replica of the shoe bomb produced this explosion. Sources say Abdulmutallab's bomb was nearly twice as powerful and more than enough to bring down an aircraft. The indictment says the bomb was designed to allow Abdulmutallab to detonate it at a time of his choosing and to thereby cause an explosion aboard Flight 253. And officials say that's what he tried to do as the jet was on final approach to Detroit. But the bomb fizzled when chemicals injected into the explosives didn't produce enough heat to cause a blast. While the suspect has told investigators already that he was trained, equipped, and dispatched by Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, officials want to know what else he knows, and it's hoped the heavy charges now may jog his memory. Katie?
Bob Orr. Bob, thank you very much. Meanwhile, this incident has called into question airline security and the tracking of terrorists coming into this country. The White House is releasing an unclassified report on the Christmas Day incident tomorrow, but Bob Schieffer is our chief Washington correspondent and anchor of Face the Nation, and he has some insight from someone who's read the review. Bob?
Katie, a person familiar with this report the president will issue says it will be a blunt, honest, warts and all assessment of what went wrong and how. It will tell where the breakdowns in security came, how the mistakes were made. The president will hold responsible those accountable and will put the bureaucracy on notice. He will not just outline what he expects to be done, but tomorrow he will set a series of deadlines on when he expects the corrections to be made. The president will not announce any personnel changes tomorrow. Tomorrow, I am told, he will concentrate on fixing, not firing, but it won't be pretty. The way my source put it, the American people deserve an honest assessment, and they and the bureaucracy are going to get it.
Should be interesting. Bob Schieffer. Bob, thanks very much. Now to the Yemen connection. That's where the bombing plot allegedly was hatched, and the government there has begun a new offensive against Al-Qaeda. The military closed in today on a terrorist stronghold northeast of the capital. Terry McCarthy reports now from Sana'a.
Yemeni forces in a show of strength 2 days after a shootout with militants, today they cornered an Al-Qaeda commander. 3 other militants wounded in the same fight were also arrested. Yemen has intensified its fight against Al-Qaeda extremists in the country. Yemen's Foreign Minister Abu Bakr al-Kurbi says the country needs the U.S. aid already promised to help fight terrorists. It amounted to $67 million last year alone, but he doesn't want any U.S. troops on the ground.
This is again one of issues that creates problems. It creates it definitely in Afghanistan, it creates it in Iraq, and we don't want to repeat the same mistake.
Al-Kurbi claims there are as many as 300 experienced Al-Qaeda fighters, any of whom could have influenced Umar Abdulmutallab. U.S. and Yemeni investigators are looking for links between Abdulmutallab and this man, Anwar al-Awlaki. The American-born cleric's popular online sermons preach violent jihad against the U.S.
I think him with other Al-Qaeda operatives are now under surveillance by security forces, for sure.
For the U.S., it's a familiar dilemma: how to root out Al-Qaeda without becoming, by their very presence, the jihadis' main recruiting tool. Terry McCarthy, CBS News in Sana'a.
Turning to politics now, this is shaping up as a very difficult election year for the Democrats, struggling to hold on to that 60-vote supermajority in the Senate. They need every one of those 60 votes to cut off any filibuster by the Republicans. But in the past 24 hours, 2 veteran Senate Democrats announced they're retiring: Chris Dodd, who was facing a tough re-election battle in Connecticut, and Byron Dorgan of North Dakota. That means the Democrats will be defending 4 open Senate seats this year, and it's increasing the pressure on them and the president to get their agenda, including health care, approved this year. Chip Reed is at the White House tonight. And Chip, the president is in a pretty tough spot now.
Yes, he is, Katie. The president wants to put final negotiations on health care reform on a fast track, even if that means breaking an explicit campaign promise.
The House and Senate plan to put together the final health care reform bill behind closed doors, according to an agreement by top Democrats and the White House.
The president wants to get a bill to his desk as quickly as possible.
During the campaign, though, candidate Obama
will have the negotiations televised on C-SPAN.
Repeatedly promised.
I'm going to do it all in the open.
To put it all on TV.
Done on C-SPAN, in front of the public.
Back when Republicans controlled Congress and George Bush was in the White House, it was Democrats who angrily complained about secret backroom deals. Now the roles are reversed.
Well, the negotiations are obviously being done in secret, and the American people really just want to know, what are they trying to hide?
Even with no cameras and no Republicans in the room, it will be a tall order for the House and Senate to resolve their differences, especially on abortion coverage and how to pay for health care reform.
Still, top Democrats in both houses say they hope to have the final bill on the president's desk, ready for his signature in time for the State of the Union address. That's less than 4 weeks away, Katie.
Chip Reed at the White House. Thank you. And coming up next here on the CBS Evening News, where America stands. Hollywood technology plays a supporting role in training the U.S. military. As we begin this new decade, the world is more dangerous than ever, and nations around the globe have assembled massive armies to defend themselves. Russia's military is 21 million strong, active and reserve. China, 3 million. North Korea, about 6 million, and Iran just under 1 million. The United States, by comparison, has about 2.5 million men and women in uniform, with 182,000 of them now fighting 2 wars. Tonight, national security correspondent David Martin shows us how the U.S. military is trained to defend the country against an ever-changing enemy, as CBS reports where America stands.
If one moment could capture the unexpected trauma of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, this would be it. American soldiers hit by a roadside bomb. Something as simple as a homemade booby trap literally blew up America's plan for quick and easy victories. The report card is written in blood and treasure. 5,300 dead, more than a third of them killed by roadside bombs. 36,000 wounded, more than 950 amputees. 2 million have deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan, more than half of them leaving families behind. Some have served 5 combat tours. 300,000 are estimated to suffer from post-traumatic stress or major depression. 480,000 who have left the service are now in the VA system. The soldiers have made the sacrifices, but the American taxpayer has footed the bill. This year, the total amount spent on the 2 wars will go over the $1 trillion mark. The problem is there for all to see. The most powerful and sophisticated military force in history, stretched almost to the breaking point by 2 guerrilla wars against third-rate opponents. Shock and awe turned out to be a myth.
There are many people who believe that technology had essentially solved the problem of future war, that we would be able to win, future wars cheaply, quickly, mainly at standoff range.
Brigadier General H.R. McMaster, one of the most successful battlefield commanders in Iraq, argues that the next conflict is likely to be another war the U.S. did not bargain for.
What we see in Afghanistan and Iraq is we see sort of harbingers of future conflict.
The principal lesson of both conflicts and the problem McMaster is grappling with is the unpredictability of war, where it will break out and how it will unfold.
You're never going to get it right. No one has ever really got it precisely right in terms of the demands of future armed conflict. The key, though, is to not be so far off the mark that you can't adapt, that you can't adjust.
You're not going to be exactly right, just try not to be exactly wrong.
Exactly. Try not to define future conflict as you would like it to be, because if you do, you're just about guaranteed that it will be nothing like that.
In addition to the obvious places where war could break out, Korea, Iran, Yemen, there are 90 failing countries in the world which could dissolve into conflict. The Army brainstorms future crises at, ironically, the oldest fort in America, Fort Monroe, Virginia, defended by a moat.
It's the only place in the Army where we bring them all together.
Lieutenant General Michael Vane is in charge of preparing the Army for the future. Everything from tomorrow in Afghanistan to 2025 in who knows where.
The future is happening almost in dog years. The pace of change is at such a rapid rate. It's exponential.
If you can't predict, the only solution is to adapt, which has proved painful and costly in both Iraq and Afghanistan. So the Army is trying to train soldiers to adapt to the enemy's latest tactics before they ever get to the battlefield. And to do that, it has turned to an unlikely source, the entertainment industry.
But what does Hollywood have to teach the U.S. Army about war?
What Hollywood brings is an ability to help us simulate reality.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 sniper shots up there on the left-hand side, over.
We can bring the battlefield to the soldier before he or she ever goes to battle.
First, the battlefield, everything from video taken by spy drones to the chemical composition of the latest roadside bomb, is brought into this operations center, located of all places, in a mall outside Colonial Williamsburg.
It's where the Army tries to capture all the complexities and dilemmas of combat and turn them into real-world training for troops on their way to Iraq and Afghanistan.
Terabytes of data are transformed into computer simulations, a no-nonsense version of the video games today's soldiers grew up playing.
And how long before somebody can train on that?
4 days.
4 days.
Yes, sir.
Retired Army Sergeant Mark Covey runs what is undoubtedly the most high-stakes video gaming center in the world. The videos are posted on a classified website where soldiers bound for Iraq and Afghanistan practice against the latest enemy tactics. That's just the beginning of what the Army has in mind.
This is the next step in the in serious gaming for training, and that's to take a soldier and put him in the environment. And so in this case, you know, we're in a Humvee.
3D battlefield simulations.
This is what we call a geotypical village.
The aim is to download these 3D simulations into a warehouse big enough to hold an entire platoon of soldiers learning to clear a village wherever the next war might be.
We can rapidly change. We can go from an Afghan village to an Iraqi village to perhaps somewhere in the Philippines. You're only limited by your imagination.
You're good to go. You ready to go swimming?
Good to go for a Hollywood-produced ride down a road in Afghanistan. Actually, the landscape is Lone Pine, California, scene of countless cowboy movies. Only now it's a gauntlet of roadside bombs. The aim is to use the most sophisticated device of all, the human eye, have to find them before they find you. Just like the real battlefield, the enemy can come at you in unexpected ways.
Hey! Whoa! I don't know how close to the real thing that was, but it was very, very convincing, and it took you totally by surprise. Sergeant, were you ready for that?
I was not, sir. I had no idea it was coming.
The goal is to make a soldier's last day of training the same as his first day in combat. A very different kind of shock and awe. David Martin, CBS News, Fort Monroe, Virginia.
Everybody okay? Everybody okay? Good.
Amazing. And as this series continues in association with our print partner, USA Today, we'll be posting all the stories on our website, including more of the military training video David just showed us. And you can let us know where you stand on the issues we're reporting at cbsnews.com. Tomorrow night, the battle against a very different but potentially deadly enemy, obesity.
It's sad because I want to be everybody's friend, but nobody wants to be my friend.
Because of your weight, do you think?
Because of my weight, yeah.
The death toll is rising from the cold snap gripping much of the nation. Frigid air east of the Rockies is now blamed for at least 6 deaths since the weekend. And Manuel Gallegos tells us record cold in Florida is threatening the citrus crop.
This is not good. It was not what Florida citrus grower John Arnold wanted to see when the sun came up.
Look at that. Now that's cold damage, that's slush.
To protect his orange and tangerine crops, Arnold ran sprinklers all night, creating a thick layer of ice that's supposed to keep the fruit from freezing on the inside.
Plenty of juice.
But it doesn't always work.
Fill this basket up.
The unwelcome 28-degree weather may have damaged fruit on nearly 4,000 trees. He doesn't know how much he's lost.
They're basically about $1 a pound. So if we lost, 100,000 pounds, you do the math.
The unusual cold is catching man and nature off guard. In North Florida, bees are clustering in their hives for warmth, eating the only food they can, their own honey.
There have been studies done where long periods of cold, you have maybe 85% of the bees die off.
In Virginia, these rescued sea turtles weren't able to warm up from the chilly water. They're cold stunned and near death.
They were very lethargic, not moving a lot.
And here in Florida, they're expecting temperatures to dip near freezing again overnight, and they'll be revving up those sprinklers here at the Citrus Grove. Katie?
Manuel Gallegos reporting from Claremont, Florida tonight. Thanks very much. And coming up next, the American spirit, how the creator of a chocolate bar left a sweeter future for countless kids. And finally tonight, Hershey is, of course, synonymous with chocolate, but the company's founder did a lot more than sell candy. Before he died, he gave an extraordinary gift to future generations. Randall Pinkston tells us that gift lives on, a true example of the American spirit.
We begin at the Hershey Chocolate Factory in central Pennsylvania and end in this close-knit neighborhood with Craig Cowan and his 9 girls.
Did you see the picture of the deer?
Yes, I did. They were.
The sweet story that connects the kids and the candy began 100 years ago when the founder of Hershey Chocolate, Milton Hershey, decided to leave his entire $60 million fortune to open a school for underprivileged kids.
Me and my brother come from a home of financial difficulties, and living with a single mother can be challenging at times.
Before these kids got here, they had anything but a sweet life.
My mom, she's like sick, and she wanted us to come here so we could have a better life.
But now, as part of an 1,800-strong family, they're learning valuable life lessons inside and out of the classroom.
Knowing that you're safe and clothes and food, it's just very, comforting.
Life on this sprawling 2,600-acre campus costs $75,000 per student per year, but the kids pay nothing. It's all paid for by the Hershey Trust, with a portion of each Hershey chocolate bar going to fund this unique institution.
Be safe and be good.
What's the difference between this school and a boarding school?
This is a home and a school with an emphasis on home.
Come on in.
When he says the school is a home, that's exactly what he means. Milton Hershey School has 142 of these, not dormitories like you might expect, but homes where 8 to 12 students live, cared for by house parents.
Feel better now? You got your hugs?
For the past 25 years, Deanna and Craig Cowan have worked for the school as house parents. They treat all of the girls like their own.
Everybody's here for different reasons, different difficult situations, and so we help them through that situation.
Here they can count on all the little comforts of home. It's a place where they can dream big.
I've always wanted to be a pediatric cardiologist.
I'm thinking about going to MIT Tech.
For thousands of kids like Hunter and Katie, Milton Hershey continues to make their lives a whole lot richer. Randall Pinkston, CBS News, Hershey, Pennsylvania.
And some future Taylor Swifts, too. And that is the CBS Evening News for tonight. I'm Katie Couric. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.